This is one of the hot scenes that is about heat and chemistry.
Well, most of the artistic portion of the film.
That's right. So just give her a little room, react normally, be sensitive above all, because in this scene, Daisy's going to take off her blouse. Steve Martin, you're offering yourself to him in order to save the planet.
And Eddie Murphy.
Awesome.
Bowfinger.
You're doing great.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, August 13th.
Hello, welcome back to Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. My name is Joe Ramoni. With me, my friend and co-host, Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, folks.
We're traveling back again to 1999 for the third time in a row.
I know you mentioned this last time, but I was like, I saw it today, I'm like, oh shit, these are all from 99.
I was going to suggest we just do the whole year. We do 1999 movies because it's like the 25th anniversary of a very powerful film year, in my opinion. But we're talking about Bowfinger, a movie directed by Frank Oz, written by Steve Martin, which came out in 1999. Movie we've kind of had on our radar to do on the show for a long time because we wanted to talk about Frank Oz. And I think you were championing this because did you grow up with this, or
I saw it when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your relationship with it now? Did you have strong feelings of it then? Did that carry over?
I'll tell you what, it's funny. I remember at the time I was real excited for it because this is 1999. You know, I still love movies at this point. You know, it's not like now. And
movies about making movies too.
I loved movies about making movies. If you listen to our previous movie catch up, you know, you might get the impression I don't like those movies. I love those movies when they're done well. And I was really excited for this. And I remember I saw it. I liked it. I was kind of underwhelmed walking out of the theater, but I still liked it. And who knows, man, rose-colored glasses or whatever. But I watched it again, and I'm like, I like this movie a lot.
You like it a lot.
I love it. I love it. You know, it's easy to say that, but I kind of love this movie. It's not the best movie. There's a million plot holes. It's kind of it is stupid. But it's the stupid that works. It's not the stupid that annoys you.
Yeah. I was listening. I looked up Leonard Maltin, what he had to say on it, and he said likable co-stars carry this comedy a long way. There are some good laughs throughout, but it's never as satisfying as you'd like it to be. Which is like it comes for me. I also think Get Shorty, right? I was thinking you can't not think of Get Shorty watching this movie. There's similarities. You have like this kind of B-movie producer that's down on his luck and looking for a hit. It might have been a response to that. It's also
and it's a guy bullshitting.
Yeah, it's a guy who like talks his way
Hollywood.
through Hollywood. There's some satirical elements of it, obviously, but yeah, there's a few things that don't line up for me in it. This is a movie that I don't think I ever saw growing up. I just remember like every trailer had that clip of Eddie Murphy looking to the camera when Heather Graham's topless, and he. That was like every trailer
so cool.
Just had that.
Yeah,
and it's funny too because you look at the poster and it's Steve Martin with his armor. It's very like it feels like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles similar. And it's funny. One of our on Patreon, Lux Anatis says, I actually rewatched it recently and found out I had fused it in my memory with Showtime, which also starred Eddie Murphy, which for some reason, yeah, they feel very... I've never seen Showtime. Have you?
Is that the De Niro one?
Yeah.
So I remember that movie getting like horrible reviews. I really liked it. I remember enjoying it.
Is there like a Hollywood element to that one, though?
Yeah, it's... I think De Niro's the cop and Eddie Murphy's
I just
the
pointing
actor.
at each other. They're both like, look at this guy. What's he doing?
Yeah, but he's like shadowing him for a role or something.
Okay.
I think that and another piece of crap, I Spy. I like that movie too.
Oh yeah, the Owen Wilson one.
I like both those pieces of garbage, but you know.
And Gavin Fitzgerald over on Patreon says, although I stand by that Groundhog Day was the last comedy of the SNL/SCTV era, Bowfinger feels like Coda. Some say that this was the last time Eddie Murphy tried. He even says he disagrees with that, but I also disagree with it. I think there were other movies, but it does feel like a very...
It has a Coda quality to it, yeah.
I think it's just like that late 90s thing.
It's the end of the millennium.
Movies felt different. So, and then we want to talk about director Frank Oz, and I think when we went into this, we were like, yeah, we're not going to watch everything he did. We'll pick and choose some ones to talk about, but we ended up watching pretty much everything he did leading up to Bowfinger, and then The Score, which was after that. So that's going to be this month's Patreon show. We're going to do the whole early career pretty much of Frank Oz. So that'll be on patreon.com.
It's only 2 movies we're not going to cover.
Yeah, /Almost Cult Classics.
Yeah, what was that link again?
Patreon.com/Almost Cult Classics.
For the low price of $5 a month.
Yeah, and also you can sign up, and we read some of your comments at the beginning of the shows now, so there's a good chance for you to support the show and get involved. But we're going to talk about a lot of Frank Oz stuff on that show.
Real quick aside, speaking of comments, I saw a YouTube comment on one of our things. I have to take issue with it. I forget who it was. Sorry. He said, these two guys are pretty good, but sometimes they can be, in all caps, super pretentious. Don't throw Joe under the bus that way. I'm super pretentious. I will always be super pretentious with my impossibly high standards. Joe's a good fella. That's all.
I don't think I have.
No.
I try to be anti-pretentious.
Yeah, no, I am diving into it. I am swimming in the sea of pretension. So, cheerio.
Yeah, I think maybe they just think you're two people. You get so animated in some discussions,
perhaps.
But yeah, this is a movie that, as much as it actually opens at number 2, so that's pretty good for the time it opened up, which was
what beat it?
The Sixth Sense was in its, I think, like its second week. That we talked about that movie just kind of came out and blew away expectations. But opening up number 2 in August, so summer, kind of towards the end of the summer season, so it does pretty well. It's written by Steve Martin, which is an interesting thing. And he has written a handful of movies. Some are more acclaimed than others, but I like that he's the sole credited screenwriter on this.
Me too.
And he worked with Frank Oz before. We were just talking about this in 3 other movies: Little Shop of Horrors, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and House Sitter. So they had kind of a working relationship. And yeah, I like Steve Martin. He's obviously a guy that knows the ins and outs of show business. We just railed on the whole like insider Hollywood satire when we talked about Fool's Paradise, but this is a movie that I think does it pretty well.
I think it does it great.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was thinking about it. I don't think this is necessarily the reason, but in the 2 pieces of garbage we watched before, like you said, they're insiders, kind of. Maybe not the Latte Pronto character, but it's all from an insider's perspective, kind of.
Sure.
They're all on the outs.
Right.
And I don't know
that's
if
a good point.
That's the reason, because trust me, there's plenty of Hollywood stuff. Like, The Player's really good, but that's an insider. Like, he's an insider in that movie. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
You weren't the biggest fan of that, but
I have to revisit it.
It's one of those movies.
It's. I don't think at that point in time I was like accustomed to Altman style.
Sure.
I was just expecting like a Hollywood satire without the kind of Altman style.
Yeah. But there's it doesn't, just because you're doing it from an insider's perspective doesn't mean it's going to suck or whatever. But this one, I think, when they're so on the outs.
That's a good point. Same thing with Get Shorty.
Yeah, there's Z-list in this, though. Yeah. So I think that really helps. It gives you that scrappy underdog, we're putting on a show type thing. And there's something very endearing about that.
But we also love the fast-talking con man.
Can never get enough
the liar,
of it. Yeah.
And, which is, again, Patreon, we're going to talk about it, but you had never seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which the whole kind of genesis of that movie is con men. And there's a lot to be said about I also like how the pinnacle of success to Bowfinger, the character, is getting a FedEx.
Yeah.
And it was spoiler alert, but at the very end, we'll get to it, they don't kind of succeed.
Yeah.
They're relegated to making like cheap action movies overseas. So like it doesn't have like that.
But they're happy.
They're happy doing it.
So they stay on.
It's a good, for them it worked out.
Yeah.
And it's a fun movie, man. I got to tell you, I was talking to Ryan before we recorded. I've been watching a lot of Steve Martin, partly because you'll hear about it more soon, but I did a little project for a Steve Martin movie that's going to be coming out on Blu-ray. There's your tease for that. So I've been watching a lot of Steve Martin stuff, and I got to tell you, man, I really enjoy him as a performer. And Bowfinger, the kind of movie rests on his performance and the character and the way he walks a very fine line between like being an unlikable kind of character into like an endearing one. He's great at that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a piece of shit in the movie.
Yeah, and he lies to all of them. He's stringing them all along for money and everything. But there's like
he's stealing from them.
He's got like that optimistic kind of like he wants to just make the movie, and it's an endearing quality.
Blind delusion will sometimes get you across the finish line in more ways than one.
And this is one of his last really big hits, I feel like, because he starts doing Cheaper by the Dozen stuff and the Pink Panther movies and remakes. And
when did he do Shop Girl?
I think that's like 2005, which I've never seen.
I haven't heard. I heard it's good.
You said you were going to check out Novocaine, did you?
I did not.
Okay.
Because I think it might be a good feature.
I would agree. We'll come back to that. There's a few Steve Martin movies that you have the big iconic ones.
Right.
And then there's so many little ones, Leap of Faith and Mixed Nuts. There's so many little movies tucked in there that I think people just glance over.
Is Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid any good?
It's amazing, yeah.
Because I remember watching, the idea of it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the execution's pretty damn good too. But I remember watching it and I really felt like very underwhelmed. I was just like,
I like it because I'm very familiar with those style of movies. I love the pulpy noir type movies, so I like it in that regard. It does kind of paint them into a corner in terms of how free they can be with the concept because But as far as an editing, it's great. Everything is kind of cut in a way that you wouldn't know, and he is great at fitting into that world. You know, his character feels very.
Yeah, I'll give it another watch. It's definitely
There is so much with Steve Martin that's worth talking. And, you know, likewise with Eddie Murphy. I mean, we've covered Harlem Nights previously on the show. He's obviously someone we're a fan of. And in this movie, I love the nerdy brother, the character that he does in this.
Well, that's the brilliant thing here is black nerd is so underused. And it's like... They're everywhere. They're real people.
He's kind of playing like Norbit Light.
Yeah, and it's real. Dude, Eddie Murphy is hilarious in this movie.
It's also
in both roles.
You associate Eddie Murphy with other characters portraying multiple characters in movies, usually with prosthetics and heavy makeup. And in this, you really see how he can do it without that.
Yeah.
The way he contorts his face to play...
His movements and stuff.
And I know like he has his ears like moved out a little bit. He's got braces on.
But just like the stooped shoulders and stuff, like the way he's carrying himself.
But the Jif character is such a... He really kind of contorts his face into becoming this different person.
For sure.
So it was very fun to see. And the two of them obviously have really good chemistry in this. And you can tell there's a respect between them as performers.
Oh, definitely.
And it comes through in the movie.
And just think, Martin wanted Keanu Reeves
I heard that,
initially. Yeah. And I like Keanu Reeves, but... Come on, man!
Well, because it's written to be like an action star, you know, like like kind of a dumb action star.
Well, he's in shape.
I kind of think like it's supposed to be Tom Cruise. I think that's what they're kind of going for a little bit.
Well, there's the whole Mindhead thing, which we'll get into, but I don't know. I buy Eddie as an action star.
No, it's fine, yeah.
But I couldn't see Keanu doing the GIF role.
No, I don't think he
has.
He
could be nerdy.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like it was written for a more straight man action star, you know, and who knows how it ended. I think I don't know who suggested Eddie in it, but this movie's produced by Brian Grazer, Imagine Entertainment, so it's got a lot of
manga hair. Brian Grazer,
yeah. Does he still have his hair like that?
I don't know, maybe.
That's funny. Ray Romano in the Get Shorty TV show his hair is like that. They
is
spike
he
it all
really?
up. Yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, great cast, and we'll get to each of them as we go through it. But it's a really fun movie. There are parts of it that don't quite land for me. It doesn't all line up, and some, like you said, plot holes and unrealistic elements that...
Look, here's the thing. When this whole plot kicks off, you have a decision to make. Will I roll with this and enjoy myself, or will I pick it apart? Because on the face of it, it doesn't make sense.
But is that you and I, as people who like know how films are shot, is that how we're able to be like?
I don't think so.
Can the average moviegoer watch this and be like?
Yeah. Well, I think the average moviegoer understands somewhat of the process. I don't think you have to be that.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, they would need ADR here, and this shot with it, they couldn't get a close up of it. There's a really.
And I'll be honest with you, I must have been 11, 12 when I saw this.
You were critiquing it then.
Well, that's what kind of underwhelmed me. To me, it seemed a bit like. Fuck it. Like, we're just making a stupid comedy. Like, whereas I'm like, have you tried a little harder? You probably could have connected these things a little better.
I agree.
But then, like, so what?
Yeah, so what? There is a moment where it's when they're at the end of the movie, they have the camera in that, like, stair car thing, and they're watching the movie, and it's from an angle that they were not getting, you know? It's like, it's the cop with the head melting, and the camera was behind them. But then when they show it in the movie, it's like it's just like little things like that, like you said.
Exactly.
If you had just
it's shit like that you're like, they didn't film that. Like your logic in your brain will stop you from accepting that. But maybe your film lover's heart won't.
Before we really get into it, and like I said, we're going to talk about Frank Oz in depth on Patreon. Mm-hmm. What do you think of Frank Oz as a director?
Well, just Frank Oz as a artist, I'm very impressed. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I have a lot of admiration for this guy. I mean, not only with he's Yoda, he's Miss Piggy, he's Fozzie, Cookie Monster. I think he's Ernie. Like, this guy was my childhood. And then,
by the way, how funny is it that during the score, Brando kept calling him Miss Piggy?
I thought that was so because hey, Miss Piggy, I don't want to do that take. Like, could you imagine Frank Oz and Marlon Brando's calling you Miss Piggy?
Yeah,
such a scummy whatever. It's great, but I think he's a really good director.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's a really good director.
Just quick on the surface, what do you think his best movie is? Because I think we'll line up on it.
I'm looking at the lineup here. I mean, I'd have to go Little Shop.
Yeah.
Little
I would
Shop of
agree.
Horrors is a fucking impressive
Yeah,
film.
we'll talk about it.
Dude, I was stunned
It's
watching that.
it's a spectacle.
It's something
It's
else.
really good. It's one of those movies where you watch. It's kind of like Roger Rabbit in the sense you watch it and you're like, how the fuck did this come together?
Dude, I was like...
How did everything
And it was a movie...
line up?
This is a Patreon tease, because this
I know,
is what I
but-
should be saying there. But, I mean, it was a movie I'd always seen clips. Never sat and watched the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Never saw the whole thing. Like, I would watch Suddenly Seymour, great song. But I finally sat down and watched it, and I was blown away, but I didn't realize there's 2 endings. So I don't know if I saw the ending most people see, but we will get to that
We're
later.
going to get to that. And I can talk a little bit about an actress in this movie that I have a bone to pick with. There's my tease.
Ellen Green?
No, you don't even.
Okay.
We'll get to
I
it.
can't wait for this.
And then I also revisited a movie that I loved as a child called The Indian in the Cupboard, which that's going to be in the. There's your tease for that too. I have some
Okay.
things to say about this movie.
You're not smiling.
No, but I agree. I think he is just the sheer eclectic amount of films.
A lot of variety.
I mean, you watch The Dark Crystal. That's another one where it's like, this had to be a huge pain in the ass to pull off. And it like, you look at movies today where it's like, how you realize how the easy road is taken in so many movies. And with Little Shop and The Dark Crystal and even stuff like Indian in the Cupboard, I mean, I have to say, technically, it's an impressive movie. He does things that are very, very impressive from a visual standpoint, a technical standpoint. It's just... And then it's so nice to see him kind of do movies like Bowfinger that don't have that element, where they're just character comedies, because he has a great handle on characters and comedy, and
I've been nodding this whole time.
Yeah,
Totally right.
He has I would love to see him do more, really, of this high concept stuff with that revolve around puppets and stuff. I just don't think those movies are getting made anymore.
Well, I think he didn't. It's funny. I was reading something. He was just like, I didn't even want to be a puppeteer. It's like, you're doing Miss Piggy for 60 years.
And I don't think he doesn't voice any of those current iterations of the character. I don't believe so.
I would doubt it.
I know he came back in one of those Star Wars movies for Yoda.
I think the
Last Jedi one. I think he comes back in. Yeah, but same thing with me, man. I really have a lot of respect for him because it's such a diverse set of movies.
I was stunned watching this. I'm like, this guy's a fucking strong director.
Yeah.
And it's something I bitch about probably every episode at this point. Yeah, especially like you watch like The Dark Crystal or Little Shop of Horrors. There's just no. I mean, I'm sure there is technical artistry today, but I think it's all easy road, like you said. It's very easy to punch shit up and have a team of VFX artists do it instead of. I don't know. Whatever. I'm a broken record on that shit. So,
let's get into the plot of Bowfinger.
Oh boy.
So, Bowfinger centers around a film producer named Bobby Bowfinger, who is, I guess, trying to make the movie, right? That's been his goal. He wants to make the big movie. Has he made other movies? Is it ever clear? Or he's just been a producer that couldn't get...
If you look around that... I gotta say, this is one thing I love about L.A. Those bungalows they have out there.
That's the thing, too. I feel like they set this up like this is supposed to be a shitty house. But it's like...
Yeah.
I would love to live there.
It's a rundown house.
I don't care.
It's in a shitty
great.
area.
I loved it.
Oh, dude, don't get me wrong. Anytime like there's the old actress,
He's got the great Touch of Evil poster. Did you see that?
But so he's in that bungalow. But this got a huge laugh out of me when I was a kid because it's some of his old stuff is on the walls, like what this Bobby Bowfinger had done, and I didn't know this was a play. But he's got that old like silly picture of himself on the poster for Once Upon a Mattress.
Yeah.
That title made me laugh. I thought it was a fake made up title. I'm a kid. I don't know. I'm like, dude, that's really funny. It's the Princess and the Pea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but so he's got all the. It's very Harry Zim, Hollywood of yesteryear.
Exactly. And he is. I will say it's like, as it starts, I was a little worried because it's a film trope that's a classic way to show a character owes money is to have the voicemail. Hey, you can shut off your phone. Your account is past due. The bills that say past due on it. There's got to be other ways. It's one of those things. I think everyone does it because it's just what you see in other movies.
It's cinema shorthand.
Yeah,
it's an easy way to get you from point A to point B.
But he is down on his luck, and he is reading this script that is called Chubby Rain.
See, right off the bat, this is a stupid movie.
Mm-hmm. Because he loves the script. That's the fun thing. It's not like a Springtime for Hitler thing where he knows it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Bowfinger is a stupid movie.
It is, yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, Chubby Rain is silly. Like, that's a stupid title. It just is. It sounds funny. Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain.
It's funny. Like, I don't know. And of course, he's an idiot too. So he's like, this is amazing.
Yeah. And it's written by this guy he knows who's an accountant named Afram, who gets involved in the story a little bit later. But he's written the script. He, like you said, they're kind of this collection of struggling artists, creative people, but they're all buying into it.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know how they know each other, how he's kind of formed this Bowfinger Pictures, whatever it's called.
Who cares?
You don't need that.
Yeah, no.
And he gets this script and he loves it, and he assembles kind of all this team together. So you have, this guy Afram. You also have the great Christine Baranski. Terrific performance by her. She's someone
really
that's
funny in this movie.
Man, every time she's in something, my first introduction to her was a movie I always talk about, The Odd Couple 2. She has a great role in that. And just stuff like The Grinch growing up. I mean, she's been great in everything, and she kind of plays like the
older actress.
Yes, the woman who's like been very jaded by Hollywood, but he's very serious about her craft and her profession, and I love that.
Yeah.
It really works. And
she has the look for it, too. She really sells it.
It's perfect. And then I'm so surprised it's taken us this many episodes to get to Jamie Kennedy.
No, we don't know.
What have we talked about him on?
I don't know, but we've brought him up
Have
before.
we really?
Yeah, he's from Upper Darby. Of course we have.
I know, but I don't know if we have. But
no, we were, because we were talking about the Jamie Kennedy experiment, how he was like in blackface and stuff.
I know, but
I forget. It might have been Eddie. Might have been Harlem Nights, because he does all the costumes and shit.
Maybe. But anyway,
No, Jamie Kennedy was good, and he's good in this.
Jamie Kennedy geographically grew up in the same area where you and I grew up in, and he was
good old Delco.
He was hailed as the prodigal son, kind of, for many.
He was huge.
Many years. He had the TV show on the Jamie Kennedy experiment. He had a few movies, Malibu's Most Wanted.
See, I wonder. You wonder. You were just talking about this a few minutes ago. How like actors want to work. Like Steve Martin, he wants to work. He makes a bunch of shitty movies, Pink Panther, whatever, family movies. It's like, you might not like him, but he wants to work. And I wonder if Jamie Kennedy, I was thinking about this, like, did he just tank his career making real shitty movies?
I don't know. He seems
how
to have,
bad is that Malibu's Most Wanted?
I've never seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
People seem to like it when it came out, didn't it?
That character was popular.
Yeah, well, it was a character from the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why not make it a movie?
And that show was on the then WB, I think. Like, it wasn't
Something
even
like
a
that.
huge network. And the thing about it was...
But then he does Son of Mask or whatever.
He was the Scream movies.
Oh, I forgot. He's like
He's one of the big guys in Scream.
He does the whole breakdown of
he's the movie loving guy. Yeah,
Jamie Kennedy ruled.
He's great.
Yeah,
and it was a very cool. Like, so I remember I went to a Catholic school in that area, and Jamie Kennedy famously went to Monsignor Bonner High School, which was there were a couple Catholic high schools you could go to.
O'Hara and Bonner were
were the big ones, and Bonner came. They were all boys. It came to my grade school to kind of pitch us on. They brought us hoagies. I remember they were all like room temperature, gross melted cheese hoagies. They were terrible. And their big pitch was, and by the way, guys, Jamie Kennedy went to our school. So, and it's me. I didn't go to Bonner, by the way, but as a kid, I remember hearing that, like, ooh, I could be like Jamie Kennedy. Like, it just seemed, he made it seem like fame's achievable.
Yeah.
From where we grew up, there wasn't that. Tina Fey and Jamie Kennedy. There's kind of
There's like a couple others, I think.
From that specific kind of area.
Delco? No, it's like those two. And Sherry O'Terry.
Really?
What happened to her?
That's a name I haven't thought about in years.
She might have been in that era when I was growing up watching SNL. Mm-hmm. I think I maybe liked her the most.
Wow, I haven't thought about her in so long.
She was really funny. What the she should have had a career.
She was great, man.
She was really good.
Always funny in those characters. Wow. But yeah, Super just... he was in so much, and he is really good in this. He plays, I guess he like works in a parking garage.
No, he works at the studio.
Well, what is his connection with the parking garage?
He's just a production assistant.
But how does he get the cars and how?
Hey, park this car, Dave.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, can you take my car to get washed?
Oh, it's the car. It's the lot at the. Gotcha. Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Because we have Bowfinger gets the script and he decides, you know what, I need to go. I have a meeting with Renfro, who's played by Robert Downey Jr.
Good little role.
Yeah, we talked about his big comeback on this show, the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but I thought going into this he had a much bigger role than he ends up having. He has 3 scenes.
Yeah.
And they're very small. Mm-hmm. And they're great, but it just shows you how in 1999 where Robert Downey Jr. was. Like, he was working up to that comeback in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but he's great. They have a really funny scene where I also love that Bowfinger, it's a great shot where he goes into a tailor. He's got like this.
Well, hold on, let's get. So he has this Chubby Rain script. Says we're going to make it. He convinces them all. He's like, look, just give me a second. I'm going to go pitch it to Renfro, this Renfro character, and then just give me that, because they all want to go. She's going to do Cats in Vancouver or whatever.
Well, he's pushing them that he has a meeting. By the way, that he has set up a meeting.
They just lied.
Renfro character.
So he gets the Dave character to get him a Benz and find out where Renfro's having lunch, which he does. So then first he goes to
a tailor,
Yeah.
and he's got like on this like plaid,
Yeah.
like crumply looking jacket,
Right.
and he's just looking at a really nice suit jacket, and it pans away, and then it comes back to him wearing the nice jacket and putting his back on the rack. It's a very quick, fun shot. He also, it's never explained, but it's such a funny detail that he has a rat tail.
So it was it was like an LA thing, right?
Was that it?
Yeah, cool. Well, because I think he was doing it to be trendy, and then when he sees the two guys out front of the restaurant, they don't have it. He just plucks it off.
He takes it off, yeah.
Which is very funny. He looks awful in it.
That was a big fear of mine the first time I saw this movie was, oh no, is this going to be the hair of the whole movie?
Dude, I thought the same thing.
Because it's like...
I think that got a huge laugh out of me the
When he
first
takes
time
it
because
off.
I was like, oh, good, thank God. I'll go on the record. I do not trust a man with a ponytail.
No.
I just don't.
Not, well, especially not like the little tiny rat tail looking one.
No. And I got friends with ponytails, and I trust them, I suppose, but...
It's a great callback, too, because when he goes to give Renfro his card, the ponytail is attached to it. And he goes, oh, keep it.
Well, he gets sat... I love when he rips the car phone out of the
car
Benz.
phone out.
And then this scene made my skin crawl. It's so uncomfortable, man. I'm usually good with these where he's pretending he's on the phone at the table next to...
Loudly over-talking.
Yeah. Be like, oh, hey, Jared, I got this script here. Chubby Rain, Universal wants it, but they kind of screwed me. So, hey, you want to take a look? And then the cord comes out of his sleeve. They can see he's not on the phone.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going. It made my skin crawl.
There's a scene in the British Office where David Brent gets in trouble, and his boss is like, well, you need to call him up and fire him. And he's like, yep, I'll do it. And he's got the phone, and he's just like, yep, like, hey, man, like, that's it. Like, this is unacceptable behavior. You can't do it. And the boss hits the speaker, and it's just like, if you like, it's the automated voice. Moments like that are so cringy when the character's like,
normally I'm like
found out on the phone faking a phone call.
I don't know what it is about that. It really gets to me.
But yeah, they obviously know Renfro and the other producer he's out with. They know this guy is full of shit, so they're kind of encouraging him. Yeah, and they're like, hey, look, you get me Kit Ramsey, who's a big action star in Hollywood. That's one of Eddie Murphy's characters. You get me that, and it's a go picture. And he's like, okay. He tries to act like very nonchalant about like, okay. And as he runs out of the restaurant, he's very excited because he thinks they're going to do it. They just need to get this script to. That's the good thing. It's refreshing because he thinks it's a good script. It's not like this producer's element where
they know it's shit.
He actually thinks it's a really good script.
And not only that, so here's one thing I will ask you. Did he really think he had a go picture?
I think he did, yeah.
Because then he's half lying to the crew and cast.
So the thing about it too, it's not like he gets the script to Kit Ramsey and then like comes back to the producer. He just shoots it on his own. So there is kind of a disconnect there.
So I'm telling you, like the logic of this film is not good. But
no.
it is good because of that almost. Because like really, it's not Clockwork Christopher Nolan movie. Mm-mm. It's a funny fucking like, hey, look at these Hollywood rejects trying to make a movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be perfect.
And he very covertly sneaks into Kit Ramsey's mansion. We talk about Kit Ramsey as kind of like...
This intro is so funny.
Where he wants the hasta la vista.
He wants a catchphrase that are going to all the white guys.
Yeah.
This character, Kit Ramsey, he's delusional. He's paranoid. He's racist. It's so funny,
He's got the entourage constantly surrounding him.
It's great, but like it's that perfect rapid-fire Eddie Murphy dialogue, and he's spitting out like nonsense.
Just for fun, I scanned into the computer the script just to see how many times the letter K appears in the script. The letter K appears in this script 1,456 times. That's perfectly divisible by 3.
So what? So what you saying?
What am I saying? K appears in this script 486 times.
I had to write this down.
His agent, by the way, played by Barry Newman.
Of Vanishing Point fame, yeah.
He's
really
so
good.
funny in this.
He's in The Limey. You ever see that?
Yes, yeah.
Fuck, we should do that at
That's
one
a good
point.
one. Who directed that?
Soderbergh.
Ah.
The Limey rules. Anywho.
And that's, is that Terence Stamp?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird.
There we go.
Yeah,
Connection.
But his agent's like, he's trying to offer him something. He's like, it's not Shakespeare. And he's like,
Shakespeare, Freddie, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Shake a spear, spear chucker.
Shake a
Shakespeare, I'm a spear chucker now.
So fucking funny.
Yeah, you can tell it really is that when Eddie Murphy like tries and gives a shit, he's on his way out of his big mansion, and Bowfinger manages to sneak in and comes up to him with this script and is like, "Oh, script." I love he's like script delivery from Paramount. He's like, "I didn't get no script from Paramount." He's like, "Well, Universal." Like, "Well, maybe." Like the studio name changes it.
He's still holding. He was firing a gun off, by the way. He's still holding it when he gets out to the car.
And he takes the script and he's like, yeah, that's pretty good. I read it, Bob. He's like, okay, you read my script? Who said you can read my script?
It's butter, baby.
Yeah.
It's butter.
The two of them, man.
They're really good.
And he ends up saying, like, all right, Bowfinger says, gotta get going, gotta go to my Mindhead meeting. He's like, you Mindhead? And he's like, come on, I'm going the same way. Get in the car. That's another really funny, you don't hear the conversation, but we just track this limo, the two of them talking, pulling out. All of a sudden just slams on the brakes and he's thrown out of the car. So the conversation was able to last a total of like 25 seconds before he figured him out. Right. And he throws the script out with him. So,
shoots it too.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to mention, like, when this starts, there's a great energy to this movie. I don't know if it's bubbly or light or you're really bouncing along, but like it has that great Marvin Gaye "You're a Wonderful One" song.
That's
playing,
right, yeah.
And it's like it's coming in and out, like it's just really, it keeps that energy going. And it's like once he fires the gun off at like the cymbals on the drum set,
yeah,
and then it cuts to Martin, and it's just like that music kicks back in. I'm like, oh, like this is awesome.
It's very tightly paced and edited. It feels quick, and at this point, he comes back to his house. And he removes from his ceiling, he has a strong box full of like $2,184.
48.
Which he says he saved up from, was it $1 a week since he was 10?
Yeah.
Because he wants to make a movie. And he's like, even if I missed a week, I went back and put in other weeks. And he's like...
You're looking at enough to get us started. $2,184.
But movies cost millions of dollars to make.
That's after gross net deduction, profit percentage, deferment, 10% of the nut. Cash, every movie costs $2,184.
And he says that we're going to,
Now, he kind of lingers before telling them. Do you think this is him? Because I'm not quite sure if the movie was trying to do this, but it's like him going like, do I lie to these people? Like, is that what he was doing there? Or was he just doing it because Bowfinger's a dick?
I think he was doing it because...
For like dramatic effect.
Yeah, and he genuinely believes this is like a good...
Right, but he's telling them he has Kit Ramsey. He
I
does
know.
not have
I
Kit
think
Ramsey.
that's just like to improve their, morale and get them excited about the project. He's just lying through his teeth, but I think he believes that he does. I think he's that delusional that he just thinks they can do this. And one of the things that's really funny where he's like, we're going to get the best...
Hold on. Because we skipped Mindhead. Because what you're about to hit on is my favorite gag in the film.
Okay.
Yeah. But they show Kit at Mindhead, which, everyone can go. It's the Scientology stand-in, which fair enough. Steve Martin said it's more of an amalgamation of all these things I've seen come and go through Hollywood, all these little groups and stuff. There have been a lot. Yeah, it's Scientology. I mean,
you have to dance around it at a certain point to be like, it's not.
But so you get Kit there talking to kind of his handler at Mindhead, and this is something I do to this day, especially when I'm in traffic. Exploding with road rage. Keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together. KIT. Keep it together, dude. I do it all the time to the point where I forgot it was from this.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to keep it together, Joe.
And yet,
the speaking Jupiterian.
Terence Stamp plays the kind of head of this organization, and it is a Scientology-like thing because they know about, like, he's into flashing Lakers cheerleaders.
Well, there's the 3 happy thoughts he has to have, and I forget. One is the aliens aren't around. Mm-hmm. The second one is a Bigfoot isn't trying to stomp on me. And I think the third is like, you're not going to spontaneously combust. And then there's this whole thing where he's obsessed with flashing the Laker girls.
Right.
And he's like, you have to not do that. Like,
yeah, so they kind of know this is a problem for him. He's also just like a paranoid...
He's nuts.
Yeah, and they're really...
And he's playing off Eddie Murphy. Like the stories about Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, all this shit was said about Eddie, so it's that much funnier that he's really leaning into it.
Yeah, he thinks he's like hearing voices and there's aliens involved. And like, I think at one point he says like, he does like a JFK impression. He's like, JFK's telling him that he got to put the Lakers girls in their place. Like,
oh my God.
So much...
Did I write that down? Damn it. I think I thought, fuck, I forgot to write it down.
But he turns into a JFK impression and goes like, put those Lakers girls in their place.
That comes later at the second Mindhead. He goes, yeah.
It's so funny.
No, he's like, you got to take those Laker girls down a peg or two. What?
It's so funny. But
some weird thing with him and the Kennedys.
Yeah. And cutting back to Bowfinger, he tells them they're going to get the best damn crew they could afford.
This is the
smash cut
to like a desert scene, and then like, "Andale, muchachos," and then they all stand up out of the bush all the Mexicans at the border, and you hear gunshots and stuff, and they're waving them into the back of the van.
Yeah, some of them are dispersing around the van. Others are just hop right in.
No, in here.
But this is also a funny gag that they become good cinematographers.
It keeps paying off, dude. Like, so he rounds up these 4 Mexicans from the border, no English, obviously, and like he brings them back. And it's just so funny. Everyone else is like, we're so happy to have you here. Like, oh,
they're terrified.
They're terrified. But yeah, they become like cineasts.
They become really good cinematographers. I
love the ones reading Cahers do cinema at one point.
They're talking about Kubrick and The Godfather.
It's the funniest gag in the movie. How as the movie goes on, these guys are getting better at the job. Yeah. Fucking brilliant.
It's a testament to Bowfinger being a great director and head of this company.
He's very supportive.
Yeah,
very encouraging.
So,
by the way, there's another poster on the wall. It's the Hugo story. That always got a huge laugh out of me.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's like they made a movie for the... Yeah. That cannot be real. I didn't look into it, but I'm just very funny.
So then we also meet another character who... It's your typical fresh off the bus scene with a woman who awakened me as a young man. is Heather Graham. Her character's name is Daisy. I think it was The Spy Who Shagged Me that put Heather Graham on my radar, but... Man, do I love Heather. There's something about... And I think... And then maybe I was like a teen, I discovered that Killing Softly movie.
Yeah, the 5 minutes everyone's seen from.
Yeah, it was just like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Killing Me Softly, I think
that's what it is. I confuse it with the one with Brad Pitt. What's
that
one
one
called?
Killing Them Softly.
Okay. Yeah, she plays this fresh off the bus, wide-eyed... I forget where she's from, Ohio. Or Kansas or something.
This is the thing where I remember not liking this about the movie. She gets off the bus... and like turns to no one and goes, "Where do I go to be an actress?" And then just turns away again. Like, who were you talking to? Like, were you like? It's shit. Like, there's things in this movie that are like that where I'm like, why'd you do that?
Yeah,
like you didn't need to do that.
Like you said, if they just would have been a little bit smarter about how
just
the scenes were executed,
it
would have all lined up a lot better. But it's still her character starts to just end up sleeping with everyone to get them.
Well, I like how she's presented as very wet behind the ears, clueless, and she's a total operator piece of shit.
She's smart.
Yeah, but she's a piece of garbage. It's great. I love that. Like, she's learning, like, oh, I have to bang this person to get what I want.
Is she another, like, veiled caricature of someone real?
Anne Heche.
Really?
Yeah, Steve Martin dated her for a while.
Because at the end with she's dating a powerful lesbian. Wow.
Yeah.
Steve really didn't get that deep with it.
Anne Heche from Ohio as well.
I didn't know that. He dated Anne Heche?
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, did you see what happened with her?
Yeah, something weird.
Something weird.
Something very weird.
I'm going to leave my conspiracy hat off for now, but
please.
What the fuck was that, man? That's a chilling video.
There is something about her death that doesn't line up.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Heather Graham, she's walking down the street and sees a billboard for auditions today for this Chubby Rain movie that they're doing, and she wanders in. And there's also we forgot to mention the guy who's kind of like the lead bro. Who's this guy that I forget the actor's name?
Hasn't done much. Cole
Sudduth. Yeah, he's just one of the hired hands helping out in this movie.
The male lead.
He's acting in this movie, so he's doing the auditions, and she ends up auditioning against him and getting the part. I love when he looks at them all and he's like, I wish you could see what I see. It's such what does he say? It's like
it's best crew or something like that.
Yeah, I really do think he believes this, and he believes that his crew is the best that it can be. And yeah, like this romance subplot with Daisy, I don't know if I love it.
That's where the movie drags a little.
But at least she wants more scenes.
The gag is funny,
and he's like, "Oh well, you should like talk to the writer," and then she starts sleeping with the writer,
and then how
like,
she keeps coming in. The previous person's always like, "Daisy, hello." She's like, "Hi."
All the men just end up, and it builds because then you get to Jamie Kennedy, and then eventually the other Eddie Murphy character. So it really does pay off in fun ways.
And the scene with her and Martin is kind of funny. He's doing all his mixing the wine and stuff. And do you like Vienna sausages?
That's such a funny line. I love him in this movie.
I know he's such a piece of crap.
So everyone is like, why isn't Kit Ramsey here? If we're doing this movie about Kit Ramsey, why can't we? And he's like, Kit Ramsey is he is very method and into the movies he does, so you can't interact with him outside of the scene. And
can't see a camera.
And he breaks it down with, I think it's with Jamie Kennedy's character, where he basically says he has 6 major scenes in the movie. We just need to film it where he doesn't know he's in the movie, which that's the kind of the whole concept of the movie. You're making a movie with a leading man he's not aware he's a part of the movie, and he's also a paranoid, crazy person himself. So there's a lot of room for comedy there. But
apparently, I don't know if it's based on this, but there is an old Hollywood legend that this happened.
Really,
with Mary Pickford.
Won't surprise me.
It turns out that it didn't.
Okay,
she was involved in it, but that was like the legend for a while. That like they made a movie, she didn't even know she was in it. It could be done, in a sense.
There's that. I'm looking it up now. There's a Disney World horror movie, Escape from Tomorrow. Have you heard of this?
He filmed it in Disney World.
That he shot the whole thing in Disney World without anyone. I kind of respect it, whatever legal thing you're getting into, but
wait, isn't it Escape from what was it? Tomorrow?
Escape from Tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but yeah, interesting concept. And I think that there's it. Again, I like this concept. I think it's a very funny, especially with Eddie, and they keep layering it to make it interesting as it goes on.
Well, that's the beautiful part is that like the script is about aliens taking over, and Kit Ramsey is paranoid about aliens taking over.
Yeah,
and it starts very easy, but it really works.
The first scene they film with him, they're across from his house. His limousine pulls out of his house, and Daisy is supposed to run up and chase after it. So it starts very like mild, where he just thinks like, "Who's this crazy person? Like, your name Keith?" Because she's calling the character's name Keith, and he's Keith, like, he doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. But it starts to get more and more gradual. There's another scene where he's out at a lunch.
This is so funny. So he's talking to the Barry Newman character again, the agent, and he's once again bitching about how he doesn't get any good roles. He can't get the Oscar, and he says,
"No, and you know why? Because I ain't playing none of them slave roles and get my ass whipped. That's when you get the nomination. Kip, that's what Black dude play a slave role, get his ass whipped, he get the nomination. The white boy play an idiot, they get the Oscar. Maybe I should find me a script as a retarded slave, then I get the Oscar."
Because he's so out of touch.
Yeah.
And he just wants like Oscar baity like. But yeah, Christine Baranski's character, she comes up to him when he's sitting outside and just starts unleashing on him and talking about aliens at this point, and it's just like freaking him out.
But I love it too, because this is where it's clever and fun, is that they're all in the van filming him. Mm-hmm. They got a Mexican holding a "Will Work for Food" sign covered in foil.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, lights. And so he just turns and gets, it's shit like that. The other guy's at the table with a mic next to him.
That's
like,
right, yeah.
I mean, it's silly, but it works, man.
And the more paranoid that Kit Ramsey gets, the more he keeps retreating to Minehead for looking for an explanation.
And when he's at Mine, like after this whole thing, he flees. He gets freaked out and flees. Like he
goes there.
He's at Minehead. And he's like, "Strange people keep coming to me up on the street. They speak in Jupiterian or Venusian or something." His lines in this movie are killer.
Yeah, apparently it was like a dream for him to work with Steve Martin, because I would imagine if you're a young comedian in the 80s, like Steve Martin is the pinnacle.
Oh yeah.
So it was probably, he was just honored to be there and working with him. But I like this scene where he's leaving the Minehead and he's in the parking lot, and they have Bowfinger's dog has high heels on.
Betsy.
Yeah. And so he thinks he's being followed by someone. And here's the other thing. I like that when they then show the scenes they filmed.
Yes.
Because it adds a plausibility to it.
Yeah.
You can see how the scene looks. And it looks, he's freaked out. Something's chasing him. And, and it just keeps building in that way. So it's great. But at a certain point, I think it's because they need an ass scene, right? They need an ass double. They need to hire a black actor to show his ass.
Because Kit Ramsey has done it in 8 out of 10 of his last movies.
Yeah.
8 out of 10 of his last movies were hits. Yeah.
So this is probably another funny cutaway joke that you like, where there's one guy, he reads the lines very well. And they go, "Are you Union?" And he goes, "Yes." And they just show him being thrown out the door. And then we meet this character, Jiff Ramsey.
Jefferson, too.
Yeah, Jefferson.
So stupid.
Well, we don't know he's related to Kit. We find out later in the movie that he's actually his brother. But originally, it's just like they think he looks like him. And again, Eddie contorts his face. He's got the ears pushed out. He's wearing braces. Originally, he has a little bit higher hair.
Yeah.
And he's got glasses on. So it's plausible in the sense that you could look at them side by side and not immediately see the resemblance. We do, because we know it's Eddie Murphy.
Sure.
But they're like, "Would you feel comfortable shaving your head and taking your glasses off?"
That line got a huge laugh out of me. Like he says,
The haircut?
Would you cut your hair? And he goes, "Well, yeah, but it's probably best if someone else does it for me."
Yeah.
It's just so...
I love this character.
Well, there's an implication that he has tried cutting his own hair before and it didn't work out. That's so funny.
Like you said, the black nerd character, I think, gets wrongly thought of as like Urkel. Which is, it's not kind of...
It's more like anime, fighting
exactly,
game black nerds.
Like gamers and that type of thing. And
there is a diverse world
of course,
out there.
Nerds are diverse themselves.
We love to think in groups of like these monoliths.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not at
the
all. Case.
And Jeff is such a fun character in that regard because, like I said, it's kind of Norbit light. Because what he did in Norbit is more like it's like the extreme side of it. You know.
I wonder if this. I didn't see Norbit. Have you?
Yeah.
Is it any good?
I am not going to comment on the fact because it's been like 15 years since I saw it. When I first saw it, I thought it was amazing.
You know Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys?
Yeah.
There's a really funny interview with him, or at least a snippet from it.
Please tell me he loves Norbit.
So it goes like this. I go, so Brian, you go to the movies at all? He's like, no, not really. He's like, I did see one movie recently I really liked. They were like, oh, what was it? He was like, Norbit. They were like, oh, well, okay. What's your favorite movie? And he goes, Norbit.
That's amazing.
Brian Wilson.
Loves Norbit.
Love it. Favorite movie.
I remember at the time it was the perfect movie for me to come out at that time in my life.
I can understand that. But do you think he got it from this a little bit? Yeah.
The Norbit character is like a heightened version of this Jiff character. And he goes overboard with like Rasputia and like he plays an Asian man in that one. Like it's just there's a lot going on in that movie.
All right.
But it's a great supporting cast with Cat Williams and it's just Terry Crews, like Cuba Gooding Jr. I think is one of them. It's just like a very loaded cast and it's a very another like turn your brain off movie. It might be one we'll revisit at a later date.
We did talk about it a while ago.
Let's do Norbit. Yeah, I would do it.
It had the great Rick Baker effects.
Rick Baker, man,
the prosthetics.
I think that was when they were starting to figure out ways to kind of do more like full body stuff where it wasn't so it's very, very interesting stuff they do with that movie. I don't know if it lands, but
doing the show is really. I was always just whatever with Eddie Murphy. Like I really kind of love him. He's fucking great.
He's in this movie especially. He's terrific.
That's what I think. It's the two of them, but especially Eddie in the two roles. I mean, I think that's why I love this movie.
Yeah.
It's really, like, the two of them are so, like, the two, Kit and Jeff.
Well, because you don't get that typical Eddie Murphy split screen thing. The very, very end, there's a shot of them on frame together. It's fine. It's earned. You don't get that in the rest of the movie. And the two characters are so different, and they each get their own things to do that it works.
Yeah.
You don't have these two characters. I think first of all, it's amazing if you watch the dinner table scenes in Nutty Professor because it's amazing how fluid they feel and how there's chemistry there. That's the thing. In a lot of these movies, like Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill is one where it's like there's no chemistry because he's just reading the line. You know what I mean? It's like there's no room to form organic chemistry in those movies. I don't know. It's a miracle that he pulled it off.
He's an amazing performer.
It's just you watch the bloopers from that because you know it was just like. They're running footage an hour, and then like you have to sit down and be like, okay, you have to respond to this ad lib you came up with. Like it's just
and he has to move around the table in each costume
and know where to look. Like
fuck, I might have to revisit those.
It's impressive, man. It's really funny, but yeah, that's why I like this because it's not quite as extreme, but it still shows you what an amazing character.
The Jiff character is really understated.
Yeah,
you know. Fantastically.
And this scene where his first scene in the movie, right? He has to run across traffic, like 8 lanes of traffic.
It's a great scene.
And they're like, yeah, these are stunt drivers. Like, you won't get hurt. Like, just do it. And it's like, the look on his face. And they're obviously, again, this is where we talk about CGI used as a tool that works. Like
these are all real.
No, I read
they were stunt drivers. No, I'm kidding.
But you don't know.
Yeah, you got to do it here.
It's framed in a way.
You can see it a couple shots, but who cares?
It's 1999. I'm okay with it then.
Yeah.
And his acting carries the scene. It's shot in a way where it's not super.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's funny,
and he's just so funny. He's like, it's that tight shot of the cars whizzing by and his scared face. It's just running across,
and of course he gets across and he's all freaked out, and he makes him do it again.
Yeah,
and then there's that great. He's
quick,
covered in sweat too, and it's real fast, but excellent. Studio wanted to cut that apparently, or not let him do it.
Oh, because they were worried it was...
I don't probably just money. I mean, they closed down an LA freeway for 2 days. So I don't know. But I think Steve Martin was just like, we got to do that.
So at this point, Heather Graham's character, Daisy, she has moved on from romancing this guy, Slater.
Oh, by the way, I have to say, I have this written down.
What?
Right before he's about to run across the street, the Mexicans are doing the sign of the cross.
That's always a great...
They're so funny in this movie, man.
Whenever you cut to someone just doing the quick, it's always a great, like...
And that one guy, he has the most terrified eyes. That one actor. It's so funny, man.
But like you said, it's such a great... It would be too easy to make them just, like, incompetent. They don't know how to work a camera or whatever. The fact that they get better at it, and they start to really get into it... not only that, the whole movie kind of comes around to something they did inadvertently. Like, it's very good. It's very...
You know what this movie does that... I'll tell you, the past two Hollywood satires, garbage, right? Because they're joyless. This movie is about the joy of movie making.
Such a good point.
And the collaborative effort, especially at the end when they're all seeing what they
really
did.
And that's what Get Shorty does, too. It makes it the fun of it.
Well, not even yes.
Camaraderie.
Everything
there's
that comes
something
with it.
there,
There's a beautiful thing about it. And, like, you know, it's easy to shit on it and, like all the studios, which... So easy to knock the studios. You know, no studio exec gets credit for the good movies. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
they get the Oscar.
Well, yeah,
right?
of course.
But no one ever goes, well, that exec's good. It's just easy to be like, well, I hate studio executives. It's like, okay.
Well, and this movie,
easy.
This movie, I like that this movie doesn't touch on really agents and managers. And
right.
You've got this Mindhead thing, and you've got, like, maybe some of like this blockbuster movie star. It's not like hitting you in the face with this like Fool's Paradise. It's like let's comment on the studio system. Let's comment on the agents.
Right.
Let's comment on the head. Like
you're so right.
It really narrows it down to just like these simple things, and it's just this group of guys who want to make a movie.
Even the Mindhead thing. It's like it's not like you said. It's not beating you over the head with it.
Yeah.
It's just like he's in it. It's kind of silly. Here's some scenes in it.
Exactly. That's all you really need.
Just accept, like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need
agree.
to know? Scientology's stupid. Thanks. Like, great.
Yeah, they're wearing big, giant, pointed metal hats.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous.
Right.
But I don't know if you've never been to L.A.
No.
It's
Watching this made me want to go. I'm not going to lie.
It's there. You look around and you just see Scientology on things, and you see people handing out pamphlets. It's like, and where we live now, it's not even part of our life. But out there, it's such a big...
Yeah. I think there's one in Philly. There has
probably
to be.
is. There probably is. They're everywhere. But,
is that big blue building? That's in L.A.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's right. There's a center right on the boulevard. Like it's.
We should take a field trip out there.
That'd be great. I would love to. I want to record a podcast of this. We have to. Let's get the equipment. Packed up, and we would go and we'll do a show there.
Yeah.
But this is Heather Graham's character Daisy. She has moved on from sleeping with the lead guy Slater, and she's now romancing Afram, the screenwriter, and from there is deciding to romance Bowfinger now, which another great Steve Martin gag where I think they're both kind of using each other. I think at this because she even says like, "I'll never use you," and he goes, "I'll never abuse your trust."
I love that they're immediately like they're obviously
that's what they're doing.
Both lying,
and it's just like how quickly he falls in love with her. Like it's so ridiculous.
Not hard to do.
No, trust me, I know. I've been in love with her since 1999. When did Spy Who Shagged Me came out?
That sounds about right.
Around then.
Did we? Or me and you were frozen in amber in 1999. I think.
Well, I think for me, it was the first year I can remember like consciously going to the movies and start to formulate memories on the things I was seeing.
It was around the time I started going by myself too, I think.
Well, I was not going by myself.
But I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd get on the trolley and like, oh, I'm on the trolley going to the movies. Like, I don't know. It
was exciting for you,
Absolutely.
probably.
It was
yeah.
very much so.
And that was like, when I got older and your parents let you go to the movies by yourself and you can decide what you want to see. You're not just... But for 1999... It really was. I think there's even a book out, and it's called 1999 Greatest Movie Year Ever, where it just talks about, Phantom Menace. Like it was a huge. I think Scream 1 might be around that, but like 1999 to 2000 for me was like I don't remember seeing anything like going to the movies. Then was such a big event. You had those giant cardboard displays advertising movies.
I used to feel like how pious people feel in church. That's how I used to feel at the movies.
I still remember very distinctly going to the AMC you and I both grew up going to, where we saw Dial of Destiny, and they had like a giant Chucky in glass from Bride of Chucky. Like it was just huge in the lobby. Like there wasn't a lot of room in there.
No.
It was like a spectacle. And it was like...
It always felt like a temple to me.
It really... And it's not a great theater. It's laid out kind of poorly, they've polished it a bit now, but it's still... It was just like going then and
look, there's definitely like you said 95 to 2000. Certainly nostalgia. It's when we were growing up.
There's something about 99.
No, they were better movies.
Because we did hit on three. We just did Wild Wild West, Mystery Men, and now this. And
like this one's way better than the other two. But not perfect movies by any means, but enjoyable.
No, and this would have been this. I think this was like a blockbuster rental for me. That would be more one of those ones where you would go in and just see the wall of one movie.
Do you remember when you'd see the wall and there were none left?
That was so disappointing.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Some of you kids, you'll never. Isn't
never
it funny
know what
we
it's
got
like.
old enough to be like, man, I remember.
Some people seem to really hate when we talk about video games because I think it's like when you talk about anime. For
Talk
me,
about them.
But it was just like that to me is more like Blockbuster to me. It was that like you would get a video game and you had like 5 days or even the weekend sometimes to beat it and then you would just send it off and never get it back. And it was like, I still remember, I think it was like one of the Harry Potter games where I just couldn't get past one level and it was just like part of, it just went back. You know, never get it back.
I know exactly what you're talking about. There's something to be said about the instantaneous nature we live in now that's, I don't know, not good.
Not very good.
Binge watching, all that stuff. I mean, it might be... It's hard to say when you're in it if something's good or bad. Not always. Sometimes it's very evident if something's good or bad. But, like, you need that remove of time to be like, well, you know, man, we actually had it pretty good,
25
didn't we?
years, that's what I mean. It's been a very 1999 nostalgia.
I mean, you look at, like, comedies from the past 20 years. It's like, shit. The only one I can always think about, I always bring up, is Black Dynamite. Maybe Borat, which doesn't hold up, by the way. This is why, you know, you could say rose-colored glasses, but I've had 2 decades now of shite comedies. Bowfinger's great. Yeah. It's so enjoyable.
In comparison to...
Oh, my God, yeah, absolutely.
Fuck, there was one, because I was waiting, because you were like, I'm going to bring up the comedy thing. There was one I thought I was like, oh, no, with this, and now I don't remember what it was.
Oh, come on.
I was waiting for you to bring up Black Dynamite again, so I could...
Well, what a good comedy that you've seen?
Dude, it's not gonna come to me. No. There is one in like the last 5 years that I really enjoyed, though, and it's not gonna... Whatever. Anyway... So you get this kind of love triangle happening with Daisy going after all of them, and I guess they decide at some point they want to film a topless scene with her, and this is the scene I feel like most people know of from this movie, because it was all the marketing.
Yeah, you're right. When he does that turn.
He looks at the camera and smiles. Apparently it was ad-libbed or something. It was like, what does he say? Like, this is
You're going to be a star. That was ad-libbed, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
He's so nervous and just like geeky about it.
He immediately starts like...
I think that's why I loved Heather Graham, because in The Spy Who Shagged Me, it was like the first time... I think it was Hitchcock who once said, like, a woman like showing a little bit of leg is more attractive than a naked woman. You know,
100%.
like the imagination of it. And it was like in Spy Who Shagged Me, there's a lot of... You know, the scene when she's like, hey, my man, take a look at these for the guy that falls in the lava, where you just cut away real quick. So it's like, you know, you freak. As a kid, I was like, And in this, you get similar moments like that. But when was Boogie Nights? What year was Boogie Nights? Because that...
97, 98.
I wish I had seen that first.
I mean...
that I would not be as infatuated with. But they also, I guess at a certain point, they need to steal Renfro's car. Because it's like they use it in the scene. He's got like that nice red convertible.
Yeah, the
that
Buick.
They just decide to take for.
I guess they just for production value have a nice car.
It works.
I guess because Dave can steal cars essentially.
And they're going to film this at like a clothing store downtown. This, by the way, to me, L.A. it might be a little bit tougher. It shows how easy it is to kind of commandeer when you have like a camera and you're just like, oh no, I talked to what's his name? He okayed this.
Yeah.
Because in my like early film school days, especially when I had the student ID. The amount of stuff I was able to kind of do with a camera is kind of mind-blowing.
You can bullshit.
Yeah.
It's almost like a badge.
And that's
I'm
why...
here to work.
Yeah, it's like a...
Yeah, okay. Maybe he is.
I don't think I ever told you. This is a good opportunity to tell this story. The fake agent I made up. No. I think I touched on this in a Joe Pitches a Movie Sidetracks episode. So... When I was like maybe like I was like 20 or not, probably like 19. This is like right after high school. I had read Robert Ben Garant and Thomas Lennon's excellent screenwriting book, and there's a whole chapter where it's like if you want to be a writer in Hollywood, you kind of need an agent. It was like you just can't invent an agent in Britain. I was like, it was almost like
a challenge.
It seriously was like that Zero Mostel moment. The producers like I could like
yeah.
So I just I had written one day. Me and you were going to read the screenplay I wrote. I have it, Half Brother. It's terrible. It is one of the worst. It's just generic, terrible.
We should
awful.
Do a table read.
Seriously,
we should get people. Yeah.
We'll get some people and we'll do a table read, and I will.
I'm fine with that.
I would love that.
It'd be fun as shit.
Anyway, I would hype the screenplay up with an agent I made up. I got a domain name. I got an @ I forgot. I think the character's Andrew. I named him and I didn't expect anything would come of it. But I was like, let me just see if this guy can get the script read. I'm not going to say who read it, who I emailed. It was possible. That's all I'm going to say.
Isn't this whole thing based on bullshitting a little bit?
Eventually, when push came to shove, it would have blown up in my face.
Would it?
Yeah, because what if they're like, oh, we like it, let's get you guys in for a meeting or on the phone.
I'd be like, I dumped him.
But
so you don't want to say the name. Someone did read it?
Multiple people read it.
Did you get any response?
No, it's a terrible screenplay. But I will say there were multiple. I would have to sign a release paper and scan it and send it back over. It essentially says like it absolves them of a lawsuit if they end up doing a film. It's one of those standard.
Yeah.
But people read that thing.
That's so funny.
Terrible. We will. I'll pull it up and we'll do a table read on it.
Why not?
But it was just a learning experience that, like you said, there's so much bullshit in this industry, and I was Bowfingering it. I was just like, can I bullshit my way in? And honestly, I think if I had tried a little bit harder and kept up with it, I just got dejected and I was like, this is stupid and silly. Why am I wasting time doing this?
Right.
It could have worked out. I could have, like you said, it could have been like, this is my local East Coast agent and I'm moving on from him. Like, it could have worked.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they filmed this scene at the clothing store and a cop does show up at a certain point and they even say, like, have you ever thought about acting? And he does like it just shows you how easy it is to kind of...
And I love how they use him and he's the worst actor possible.
It's so funny. At the end, he comes back. But this is a scene where we get a very young John Cho as the... he works in the clothing store. He's kind of the guy. It's like...
Well, I think it was a movie theater.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they're shooting out the front window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Kit's at the clothing store.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, Kit's got like his entourage, and this is a scene where he ends up seeing like, because they just keep popping out and shouting things, and he's got Christine Baranski doing it and Heather Graham doing it, and then you have this Slater character come out and he gets shot. They film him getting shot, so he's freaking out.
This is the best too. This is such a funny,
scared Eddie Murphy is so
funny line where the Slater character comes up and he's like, "Hey, Kincaid," because they're calling him Keith Kincaid.
That's right.
And he says something about plutonium. And Kit Ramsey goes, "Man, that plutonium is federally registered. Everything is for religious purposes."
Of course, he actually has plutonium.
The Slater guy goes, "You have plutonium," and then it cuts to Steve Martin in the van, like, he has plutonium. Oh my God.
It's one of my favorite gags in Jingle All the Way when it's actually a bomb.
Oh, man, I haven't seen that in forever.
Where he's like, Sinbad keeps going like, "It's a bomb in here," and then at one time it blows up. He goes, "That was a bomb." There's some sick people in this world. It's like when they get called, the bullshit gets called out.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
I love that building a character like that. Like, he has plutonium for religious reasons.
Purposes.
Why?
He's just a crazy person.
So funny, man.
So there's also Jiff starts to let it know he just wants to run errands. That's his dream, apparently, is to run errands. And he's kind of upset that he can't be doing that. He doesn't want to act in this movie. So they're all out at the diner, and this is where he lets it slip. Or he's not even hiding it. It's just kind of, no one asked.
No one asked. And he's like, it's so nice to be treated, as a normal person and not a famous guy's brother. And they're like, what? He's like, or something. He's like, well, it is. They're like, you really look like him. Or
yeah,
something.
He's like, well, yeah, this is my brother. And it's like, oh my God.
What?
And then they feel bad because they've been using him. Like, these guys do have a heart.
Well, that's what Steve Martin says at one point. He goes like, the biggest thing happens to us, and it turns out I have a conscience.
Yeah.
Which he has not had one up until this point. Yeah. And he loses it pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, then it's also great because he comes into the bungalow at one point, and he's just like, guess who I just slept with in the van?
Intercourse
with. And yeah, Heather Graham comes in, and he's like, what does he say? Like, being Kit Ramsey's brother does pay.
Yeah, sometimes.
I guess it's not so bad.
And then I love this exchange too, because this is why I like the character Steve Martin's made here. So he's all pissed off about this. So he brings Daisy into the office, to be like, what the fuck? And he goes, "You had sex with Jiff." And she goes, "So?" And he goes, "I hadn't thought about it that way." And then it's over. The scene's over.
Yeah.
They just go back to
perfect.
it. And I'm like, God damn it, that's great. We don't dwell on it.
Nope.
You get a great laugh out of it. It solidifies both their characters, as Bowfinger really doesn't care. He is shameless.
Yeah.
And she is a total operator.
Yeah. And she admits she's doing it.
Yeah, she admits she's doing it.
So also, she finds out what's going on because she also sleeps with Jamie Kennedy's character, Dave.
Yeah.
And
he lets it slip, I guess.
Yeah,
at some point.
he tells her that Kit Ramsey doesn't know he's being filmed.
She also has a good line earlier when her and the Slater character are talking. And he's like, where she goes, "Wow, I've never done it laying down before." I love lines that create a scene in your head. Or
what this movie's kind of making me want to revisit? I know it's probably like doesn't hold up that much. I remember fucking loving it. Is Bringing Down the House.
It's got its defenders. And look, this is where, like, Steve Martin... I mean, I remember not liking Steve Martin at a certain point because he was doing that.
That's tough.
He was doing all the family movies. The Pink Panther really pissed a lot of people off. Hamburger.
I'm a defender of those movies for different reasons, but...
That's fine, but...
Go on.
Steve Martin was annoying people.
Yeah.
After both, you got to remember that.
I think he admitted that as much, that, like, his career kind of hit a point
and
where...
And the Bringing Down the House thing, everyone was really, really... tired of the white guy. Hey, brother man, hey, I'm gonna put some Slin on. Mama baba. Everyone was really fucking tired of that at that point. But that movie was a hit, right?
Well, yeah, and it's also got the joke for that is that Eugene Levy is like plays like he's like, hello there, sugar. Like he's really into the Queen Latifah character, so it's kind of, I don't know. I'm willing to give that movie a pass, and I have to revisit it, but I think it does a little bit differently. Then you got Betty White as like the nosy neighbor who just keeps. I don't know. I might revisit that. Next movie catch up, I'll chat about that.
Take a pick.
Yeah, they send Jiff to find out where his brother's going to be and what his brother's going to be doing, as well as like I think like get donuts or something for the. They give him some errands to do. He's so happy to do that. Pencils, and I kind of like this last car chase. It's a backwards car chase, a car in reverse. They've got this stair car that they're filming in.
I love this whole end sequence.
It's very well shot.
I think it's great,
and it's exciting. And they end up at the classic Hollywood location, the observatory.
Griffith's Observatory.
It just
I love
looks
it too,
great.
but like, so the whole thing is, Daisy's got to get Kit into her car. She's using the Buick again, and then get him to the observatory.
Right.
And when they finally, they all stop, and the cops show up, which are Ephraim and the cop they hired.
Yeah.
And, like, his face starts melting, and then she gets Keith in the car, Kit, and then he looks back at his friends and just goes, I'm Keith. It's so, dude, his face, it's that unsure, losing my mind, happy smile. Murphy's so funny, man.
Well, we also skipped over the fact that there's a scene where Dave, Jamie Kennedy's character, is returning the camera equipment.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
Why does it say Kit Ramsey on it?
I have no idea. I assume there's just footage on there, and a security guard who's a member of Mindhead grabs it, so Mindhead gets clued into what's going on in this instance.
Right.
There's also... when Bowfinger was talking about not taking advantage of Daisy, he steals her credit card and he's buying. That's the other thing. It's like
great scene where he's at like the film shop and the old man's like, "Well, here you go, Daisy."
Yeah,
it's like, thank you very much.
It's expensive to make movies.
Yeah,
as we talked about recently. So
especially film. Oof.
But it's also great because then Kit, thinking he's Keith and not being sure what's up, actually thinks he's saving the world. He's got that great moment at the end where like, I saved the world.
Yeah.
He's just shouting it at the observatory. He thinks he saved the world, and they're missing like the big, I guess, like final line.
Gotcha, suckers.
Yeah. The
which he fucks up.
Yeah, it does.
Got you, he says.
Got you, yeah.
It's gotcha.
Gotcha. They miss the line, so the movie is essentially they can't complete it.
Well, Mindhead shows up in a couple helicopters.
Right.
And
they shut shit down.
Great bit of acting from Steve Martin here because they're all hiding in the bushes filming. So they're walking up to him in the bushes, and he's like kind of standing, and then he kind of ducks down like that scared little boy that got caught with his head. Like,
doing something wrong.
It's just a good little bit of acting, and then it immediately goes away because he's just like, this movie is being made for Iran and Madagascar, which do not recognize American film copyrights or whatever.
It's a very funny kind of thing he rattles off there to try to get out of it.
Yeah, and Terence Stamp is like, well, sometimes the paranoid aren't paranoid.
Yeah. So it turns out, like we said, they didn't get that last. They're missing some material. In the meantime, they sent I don't know if they did it on their own, or I think Dave sent them.
Dave said, yeah, it's like, because at one point
some B-roll.
They're all sitting there sad, and Steve Martin's moping around. He's like, well, could have worked. And then they come out and they're like, hey, boss, we have these film.
Yeah.
And he's like, throw it out. And Dave's like, no, I want to see it. I sent them out to go film Kit, and he's playing tennis and he's doing this or that. They must have been filming him at the Lakers game. Dude, when they're shooting across the court and he's sitting there and he's all twitchy and nervous and he's looking around at the Laker girls, it's so funny, man. Like that little shit Eddie does is so good.
Yeah, it's his face and his body language. And then we see he's got a paper bag over his head and he exposes himself to the Laker girls. They've captured it all on film. They saw him put the bag over his head. So it's kind of their leverage. They take that into Mindhead.
That's what it was. When he goes, stop laughing, or it's not funny. It made me think of
Jerry.
Joe is constantly doing Jerry Seinfeld on Letterman when Michael Richards appeared and everyone laughed at him. It's not funny.
Stop laughing. It's not funny.
We do that all the time.
It's ridiculous.
But it made me think of that. I couldn't help.
So they end up using this as leverage to get the final shot, get the movie completed. and
they blackmail Minehead.
So
and Minehead gets Kit to finish the movie.
Yeah, but Kit, we get the great movie moment of them having the big premiere, which I don't even think the majority of stars like sit through their own premieres. I think it's like a red carpet thing. They show up. Yeah, they just. It's not for them. It's a press thing. You know, it's not really. And I don't know. I don't think a lot of them like watching themselves in a room full of people.
Probably a little weird.
Yeah, I think it's a little odd. But this movie, much like Goldmember, you got that ending where everyone's there shaking hands, and you've got Kit and Jiff sitting together. The only shot we get of the two of them in the same frame, and you have the whole crew there. It's very
like where they sit, Martin.
Where?
Like in the far front corner, and he sits there like pretty good seats. Yeah. Always that optimism.
That's what,
that's what sells this shit, is that we're not stopping. We will not quit. We will do it.
We're happy for the opportunity.
Yep.
And I don't even think it's known that the movie is a success. It doesn't. We don't even get that side. They're just happy it was completed. They made the movie.
The poster looks idiotic with Eddie
everything
Murphy's
looks
head
stupid in a
the
raindrop. It's so ridiculous.
It's so dumb.
But we get the scene where they're celebrating. They're at a big, and this is where.
But not to cut you off. Had to do it. I want to bring, like, when they're all watching what they did. It really, you go, fuck movie making, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because they're all like, especially when you cut the Bowfinger, like you realize like, no, there was no ulterior motive. There was no trying to make the money. He just wanted to make the movie. And that's where it's like, that's great.
Was the lie worth it? Like, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we cut to them all celebrating at the bungalow, and this is where Daisy shows up with her lesbian partner, who I guess is supposed to be Ellen DeGeneres.
She's a high-powered exec, or the most powerful lesbian in Hollywood or something.
And then, very great shot, you see the FedEx van coming towards and like, your head's like, it's going to be a script. It's going to be like, we want you to do... It's not. It's a letter that they want him to go to Taiwan to direct a movie starring Jiff. They want to do a movie starring Kit Ramsey's brother.
What?
And it's like, he's so excited about that. Yeah. And then...
We're going to Taiwan!
Dude, this is such a... You know what I mean? Because it's like, the movie has its problems. When you end a movie this fun, and it's got the...
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
They're making fake person ninjas.
Whatever.
And then Bowfinger's in it with him.
I don't care.
It is. It's really...
I'm forgiving at that point.
I know. You don't care.
You got the secret agent man kick on, and he's doing terrible fight choreography.
Yeah, just very robotic.
It's basically like what he ends up doing in Dolomite Is My Name.
Yes.
And Wesley Snipes goes, I see no need to do it again. It's like, should we get another one? I see no need to do it again.
I forget what it was. There was something. It was probably one of the pieces of shit we watched recently, but I literally felt like when they go watch, what was it, The Paper Chase?
Oh, it's... The front page.
The front page. It was something recently. I felt like them in that theater. Like,
watching that?
Yeah, I'm like, what am I?
The Fool's Paradise.
It might have been that or I Love You, Daddy. I just couldn't. Man, I Love You, Daddy. Whatever.
But yeah, great kind of little button to end the movie on. And it's, I don't know, it's fun. Like I said, it's stupid.
Very.
Don't get me wrong. It's a stupid movie.
Don't go into this movie expecting everything to line up perfectly, because it doesn't.
No.
And if you approach it that way, you won't like it.
But I think for me, the thing that really carries it and makes it work is the optimism, like we just said, of the Bowfinger character. He's not trying to... He has conned some people out of money.
No, but you make a really good point. The ulterior motive was to make the movie.
Yeah, he's just happy it got made.
Yeah, that was the whole point. You're right. It wasn't.
There was no financial deals in place. He just, and that to me is different, and it's exciting because it's just, there's so many movies that it's like Ed Wood almost. You know, it's like Ed Wood's not trying to financial gain. It's like he just wants to make the movie.
And what do I talk about all the time? That's the award.
That's the reward.
That's the reward, man. When you get to sit there and go, man, I fucking shot that. Like, I lit that. Or, that's me reading that line. Like, it's great.
Yeah,
it's a magical thing.
It's a very interesting movie. It's not perfect, but worth it because of that. I think.
I agree.
Recommend for me. I don't know about you. Yeah, recommend.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep these mics rolling though to talk about in depth the filmography of director Frank Oz on Patreon at patreon.com/almostcultclassics. And not only that, Ryan, we're going to throw it to our Patreon supporters to decide our next episode.
Yeah, we're kind of, me and you are like...
We've been picking them.
We have
back
a bunch,
and forth
but
for
we're
a
like, eh.
Let's get some suggestions out there.
So we'll throw up a post where you guys can put your suggestions up, and we will pick one and do that next time.
Yeah. So to those of you that support us on Patreon, we will see you over there for our next show. And to those of you who don't, maybe you'll consider supporting us there.
Thanks for listening.